And we're back with K.Y.R.A TV. Yes, yes. We got a great guest today. So we're gonna lead with your name, brother, and how old are you?
So my name is Simon. I'm 23 years old.
Smooth, smooth. Okay, Simone 23, young man. And where you from, Simone?
I'm from Germany. Yeah,
Smooth, smooth.
we
What part?
western part from Cologne.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cologne. Okay, like Christopher Cologne. I'm playing. I know it's a different spot. So let's get right into it. Um, how do you feel about the current state of Ghana? You know, you're an international student here, studying at UG. I know we're still kind of learning a lot, but we've also been introduced to some things. How do you feel about the current state of Ghana right now?
So I'm I'm a bit confused myself about
Mm-hmm.
the current state of Ghana
Mm-hmm.
because it looks very advanced. Everything is quite
Mm-hmm.
progressive. I would say very
Exactly.
safe.
Okay.
I really like the culture. The
Yeah,
people are very open minded.
that's true.
It's very nice. The food is good. So
Mm-hmm.
many things I really enjoy.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I see is people are very hopeless, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very sad to see that almost every day
Yeah.
how people don't believe in their country.
Wow, wow.
Many have given
Yeah.
up on their country. It feels like they don't
Mm-hmm.
believe in the institutions.
Wow,
They have
wow.
no trust
Yeah.
in any of the
Like the
institutions.
government and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Now
Yeah.
there's elections coming, and
Mm-hmm.
most people, most local people I know, they're not planning to vote.
Oh, wow,
So
wow.
these are just things that make
Mm-hmm.
me think about. Even though it seems everything is so positive,
Mm-hmm.
there are also many problems
Of
that
course.
remain unresolved. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good answer. Good answer. What is one thing you wish you knew more about African culture and or Ghanaian culture? Just being an international student. What is one thing you wish you knew more as a non-African? What would you like to know more?
Hmm. I mean, both, I guess.
Yeah.
Like Ghanaian culture,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Mm,
also how it compares to African culture. I
mm.
guess it's because I don't know that much about African culture and
Okay.
neither about Ghanaian culture.
Ghanaian culture. Yeah.
So it's probably best to start with Ghanaian context and
Exactly.
then expand the horizon.
So, what would you like to know more about Ghanaian culture? If you could like put a finger on it, I want to know more about this. What would that be?
So I think I would like to know more about the different traditional states or like the not the states the nations that
Okay.
exist inside Ghana, like
Okay.
the Ashanti.
Mm-hmm.
So also the structures that still exist and how they evolved over time from
Mm.
pre-colonial,
Okay.
how they were put in this Ghana frame by the colonial
Okay.
conquerors. So
Mm-hmm.
how they also interacted
Mm-hmm.
with the Europeans and
Mm.
also with the current government right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned something. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with the phrase. Um, you were talking about the Ashanti, and then you said a name like Ko.
No, the colonizers, I think.
Okay, maybe it was Colin, but it was something else. I will play
Okay,
it
okay.
back, but
Sure.
it probably wasn't that important. But okay, like you would like to know more about like those traditional systems, like
Mm-hmm.
pre-colonial, like the indigenous, like kind of. Okay,
But
okay,
also how they interact now. So this is
mm,
kind of state-state relations.
okay,
So it's kind of like a dual state in here,
yeah,
right? You
yeah,
have the official state, but
hmm
also different
different,
of
yeah,
the indigenous
exactly,
states,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
how do they interact?
Now, yeah, yeah,
That's quite
like
interesting.
post-independence. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a good question. How do you feel about colonization and non-Africans' role? Germany, you know, Portugal, England, etc. Their role in like creating this hopelessness that you mentioned, because I think a lot of the times, especially from the outside looking in, we don't necessarily understand the European perspective or context or I don't want to say shame or guilt, but just I don't want to say complicit either, but you like I want to feel like the substance of how you feel being a non-African and knowing what not necessarily you, but people of your continent have done.
Hmm. So I I mean I don't know. I feel somewhat responsible also, even
Mm-hmm.
though it's not my generation or our
Mm-hmm.
generation that
Mm-hmm.
did any of this.
Oh
Maybe,
man, that's fair.
but it's like 100 years ago or even more.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel some kind of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the Germans were also here, for example. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that it's still also related to today.
Yeah.
The Europeans, they established certain institutions.
Mm-hmm.
They shaped the way of living here
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is beneficial only for them, but
Exactly.
not for the Africans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, the Africans
Yeah.
overall, but also here in Ghana for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm usually very negative about
Mm-hmm.
colonial influence, and I don't
That's
like
fair.
this whole idea of intervening in
Mm-hmm.
someone else's affair.
That's fair. Mm-hmm.
But I must say, and it's something I also got from interactions with locals.
Okay.
Whenever I mention that I'm German, they're like, "Wow, the Germans, the
Mm.
colonial, they're happy about the German colonialists that came
Oh
here,"
wow wow.
and that confused me a lot.
Mm.
So because many people here are very religious, very
Mm-hmm.
like Christian,
Mm-hmm.
religious,
Mm-hmm.
mm, and for them, the Germans,
Mm-hmm.
they built up big churches.
Yeah, yeah.
There was like I hear that a lot. There was like this missionary mission,
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
like missionary church from Bremen, which is in
Okay.
north of Germany, and
Mm-hmm.
they were doing some stuff here in
Mm-hmm.
Ghana in like late 19th century,
Mm.
and the people here they know them, they know all of them.
Wow wow.
They're celebrating
Wow
these
wow.
Germans,
Mm-hmm.
which is it feels kind of weird because those were the ones that established the colonial
Exactly. Yeah.
empire at that time. So
Mm.
it just confused me a lot to see how positive many people
In
here
certain
look at
cases,
it.
but I also feel just being a scholar, as we both
Mm-hmm.
are, a lot of that is it's like they call it a third heritage, where you have the indigenous heritage, you have the Islamic heritage that came from the trans-Saharan trade, and then you have the European or Christian heritage,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it comes from that Christendom or Christianity. Whether good or bad is up for debate, but present and relevant, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's good to know that one, they see it as a like some, not
Yeah,
all,
no, no, not
but
all.
but some see it as a positive. But two, I think we also have to unpack the imposition that it made, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that Christianity only came here post slave trade. So
Mm-hmm.
after they eradicated, so many Africans. This is less about school, so I'm not going to speak too much.
Mm-hmm.
But just knowing that um, Christianity was introduced after you saw us as non-human, and were able to take our, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like a band-aid over a gunshot wound after you've already done this ill. And not to say that it was Germany at all, really, in the slave trade, because I'm not sure if it was specifically Germany, but I know Spain, England, part. I'm not sure if Germany was even a part of the slave trade.
I'm not sure also.
So
Yeah.
we'll do some research
Okay.
with scholars. But just knowing that it was kind of like, you know, some of the juice that you get after like a really strong dose of medicine. And in this case, medicine, the colonization, the translated slave trade wasn't a medicine we even needed, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Um, so I appreciate that answer. Last question, because this is
Sure.
great. We're at 9 minutes. We're doing good. We're about to wrap it up.
Okay.
Um, how do you feel that Africans can unite? As someone who is non-African, who's in a sense outside looking in, how do you feel from your vantage point? You know, because you have a unique perspective. How do you feel Africans, African Americans, in the African diaspora can unite more?
Mm. So there's always a lot of debate on Pan Africanism,
That's
and
true.
it's always seen as we will all be united and then it will be fine.
Oh, that's true. That's
So
true.
it's like a debate that goes on for like 70 years
Yeah, a
now.
very long time. Yeah, yeah.
And
Mm.
it didn't happen.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not sure how realistic it is that
Mm.
it still happens because I
Okay.
think only in the early independence time there was this window of opportunity to actually
Okay.
do it,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't mean that it's not possible now.
Oh, man.
So I think like in Africa itself, I think it's possible. There are
Mm-hmm.
many steps taken in that direction of like African Union,
Mm-hmm.
all of that, and you can see from European Union that it is possible to integrate over a long time,
Exactly.
taking one step after the other.
That's true.
So that's also possible here, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Yeah.
But with regards to diaspora
Mm-hmm.
and African Americans,
Mm.
I'm not sure how they would fit in there,
Okay.
and I'm not sure how many values, like from values and culture, how
Mm.
much the people here actually share with
Mm-hmm.
the African Americans in
Mm.
the United States, for example.
I see what you're saying.
So, I mean, I would still support this idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think that would then be the second step after uniting Africa. Then you
Mm-hmm.
look into
Mm.
this, and then
Okay. Okay.
since the first step is not the
Yeah.
most realistic at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure about the second step.
I feel what you're saying. I want to speak on one because I know even question before you mentioned um, colonization being 100 years, ago. I wanted to correct that. It was definitely around like 70, 50 years ago, 1950s, 1960s,
Right,
1940s, but not too long ago.
right,
One
actually.
generation.
Mm-hmm.
When you say 100, it seems far. It was much less than 100 years ago. And then,
Sure.
I feel you on the Pan Africanism being like a really popular school of thought in the
Yeah.
1950s. I like how you said it in terms of take it by steps. You
Mm-hmm.
gave me some pessimism, which I didn't like too much, but in the
Sorry.
midst of it was practical.
Mm-hmm.
It can definitely happen. Pan Africanism started. I don't want to give a history lesson again, so I won't go too far. But Marcus Garvey in the early
Mm-hmm.
1900s. So this is 1910, 1920. So it was really that's about 100 years ago, Pan Africanism.
Yeah.
It was revitalized, Kwame Nkrumah, in 1950s. It was revitalized again in the 1990s, 1980s. Afrocentrism. His name leaves me at the moment. I'm very annoyed by this because I'm doing research on him. But long story short, it's constantly being revamped every 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
The practical thing that you said was step by step. We can't unite the whole if the arm is still severed. So unite the
Mm-hmm.
arm, unite the leg, unite the other leg, unite the other, and then eventually you'll have a whole body. But it starts with African unity. African Americans have to be unified because we're clearly not. Caribbeans, I think Caribbeans are kind of pretty good. I don't see them warring with each other. I don't see them fighting each other. I don't know if y'all are Caribbeans
Mm-hmm.
or Brazilians because a lot of Afro descendants, live there too. But thank you, man. That's been
Yeah.
a great, great interview.
Thank
That's a
you.
wrap. All right.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yeah, yeah. Good,
Thank you very
good
much.
stuff, man. Yes, yes.